Hi, this is Shay Rupsky with shayrupsky.com, and we are on day 10 of the Video Visibility Challenge. And today it's all about sharing your story. It's all about just owning who you are and your story. This whole challenge has led up to this point, and I'm excited to hear it. So, I'm going to share my story with you, and I promise to do my best not to get super emotional. But if I get emotional, I guess you're just going to have to deal with it because that's what happens when I kind of go through my story and I tell everything and I get super personal. So, let me see here. I was born in Chicago. We moved to Wisconsin when I was 2, and we've been here ever since. And from about 4 to 10, I should say, my parents were super, super close with my mom's family. My mom's family, three of my aunts moved up here. Two of my uncles from my mom's side, they had like she had 8 siblings. And so over half of them moved up here as well. So every Friday night or Saturday night, we would spend time at my aunt's house. It was a lot of fun, I'd get to hang out with my cousins, and my family would drink, they'd play cards, just a typical Friday night is what they did. And it was okay, I really can't say that's all I knew, so I didn't know anything else. We would end up having to take a taxi home, or we would end up having to spend the night. And so then my grandma was my mom's best friend. So what happened was that my grandma started getting sick, and she lived they lived up here for a little while, but I think that my grandma missed her roots. She missed her family, my granddad's family. It was down there. So they moved back down to Memphis. So then my grandma got sick, and the whole demeanor in our family changed. And the closeness kind of went away. And then my grandma died. And that changed my mom's whole personality. Now, before I get into my relationship with my mom and how we moved forward, I should say this. My mom has never been a super fun, super, super duper pleasant person, but she had her moments. She was very down to earth. She enjoyed her family. She wasn't really trying to be friends with everybody else. She liked being in her circle. And that's understandable. Most people don't like getting outside of their comfort zone and outside of their circles. I wasn't that person at the time. When I was a little kid, I loved everybody. I loved entertaining. I'd sing. I'd do people's hair and tell them stories. And I'm the total opposite of my parents. Anyway, so then my grandma passed away. My mom had worked as a paralegal with a woman who was a Jehovah's Witness. And so with Jehovah's Witness, with their religion, they believe that an Armageddon is going to come, and that there are going to be 144,000 in heaven, and then there are going to be people who live on this beautiful paradise earth once Jesus and God fix it all. So then this woman, Jackie, told my mom, hey, guess what? You're going to see your mom again. She passed away now, but that's just temporary. You're going to see her again. Let me teach you how. And so somebody who's grieving, somebody who has lost a big part of their soul, is going to obviously say, okay, yes, I want to see my mom again. So my mom started doing these weekly or bi-weekly Bible studies with this woman. And, some of the good changes that happened were my parents quit smoking. My parents weren't married. They were together 10 years before, actually longer than that, because I was 10 when they got married, and they were together 3 years previous to that. So 13 years before they got married. But they got married for the religion, because you can't be living with your significant other if you're not married. And so that was one of their big things. We have to get married in order for us to get baptized. They wanted to get baptized in the religion and all of that. And so from 10 to 14, my age, I was fully immersed in this. I was going door to door. I truly believed that, I was going to live in this paradise earth one day. And then I don't know what happened, but something clicked inside of me, and I'm just like, ooh, you need to be questioning some of this stuff. You need to be really starting to think your own thoughts. And it was like it was a downhill battle from there with my parents and my relationship with my parents. I wouldn't necessarily say we were close. I was an only child. I had always like been super independent. I was always around the adults, so I was always very mature for my age, and I was able to kind of just be. And so as I started questioning these things and started asking my parents questions, they didn't like answering questions or trying to find the answers from the religion because they didn't want to think about it. They just wanted to kind of just be. And I'm a questioner, and most of my friends and the people that I work with, my clients, know that I'm going to ask you questions and I'm going to make sure you get your shit done. And so when I started researching, when I started going online and looking up stuff and realizing, oh my gosh, not everything from this religion was truth, that's when it started happening. My parents and I started fighting. I started to rebel. Like, they tried controlling me more, and I ended up like pushing against it more. Like, you're going to try to control me, then fine. I'm going to sneak out of the house. I'm going to meet boys and date boys and do stuff that I'm not supposed to be doing in that religion at 14. Like, hello. And eventually it got so bad that I tried committing suicide, and I told my parents and they didn't even care. I ended up telling the girl at school the next day, and she had to tell somebody, and my parents just viewed me as this big hassle. And at that point, like, it all hit me. Like, I couldn't be in that environment with my parents anymore. And so I got a job. So from 14 to 16, it progressively got worse. And at 16, I got a job, and I met a boy who I thought was going to be the love of my life. And he was a bit older. He was 20. That did not bode well with the parents. And I snuck out one night with him. And it was the first time I had actually gotten caught sneaking out, and they made me bring him back to my house. And I remember them trying to talk him into the religion, because if he was in the religion, then we could just date for 2 years and then we could get married, and it wasn't happening. So at 16, I moved out of the house. I was already homeschooled. My parents took me out of school because I was too much of a socialite, and you weren't supposed to be associating with people who weren't in the religion. And so, I moved in with him, and we were broke, and we made it by. But when I went to go pick up my stuff, like, my mother was so resentful and just so filled with hate towards me that she told me that she'd wish she had never had me. She'd wish she'd gotten the abortion, and that I was going to amount to nothing. And, those words, like, started this downward spiral for me. Like, if your own mom doesn't want you, the person who brought you into this world, the person who birthed you, the person who is supposed to be the one who supports you no matter what, if she doesn't want you, then who's going to want you? Who's going to want me? Who's going to want to listen to me? What story do I have to tell that anybody else is going to want to hear? And so I allowed myself to believe that. I allowed myself to have that voice inside of my head whenever I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, whenever I wanted to do something that I thought would amount to something. And so eventually I joined a mastermind. And so, like, I went through these ups and downs. I filed bankruptcy before I had my first son. I wasn't even 25 yet. And me and my husband now, and he was my boyfriend back then, like, we could barely make our ends meet. It was so rough. And I don't want that to be a part of my story, but to know how far I've come from the constant self-sabotage to the constant putting myself down to not allowing myself to be, to, like, stopping that voice, like, came to a halt when I joined my mastermind. And when I started associating with people who actually believed in me, who let me believe in myself, who I was able to believe in. And it's been a huge, huge journey for me. And the reason why I feel like I have to share this with you is so that you are empowered enough to own your voice. Like, my voice isn't perfect. I'm not going to have the most miraculous words every single time I come out and speak. I'm not going to be some fantastic, like, I'm right there with you doing it. I'm doing this with you. I'm growing with you. I'm building my business the best way that I know how. And it's not going to look like other people, how they do it. But I'm owning my voice and I'm owning what works for me. So, with all of that said, and I know I'm over my 10-minute mark, so I'm going to kind of just stop this. But let me just tell you what's happened since I've owned my voice. I had almost my first six-figure year last year. This year, I'm on par to make well over six figures. And I've owned my voice. I've owned me. I'm accepting me. You know, all the shushes and the quiets and the you're not good enoughs they're there, but I'm pushing them away. And I'm teaching my children to do the same thing. Like, my son told me yesterday that he's going to get a job. He goes, "When can I get a job, Mommy?" I said, "Well, you can get a job when you're, I think, 14 or 16. I'm like, I don't know specifically what the dates are. He goes, "Because I'm going to get a job so I can play college baseball, and then I'm going to work or play in the major league." And, you know, if I would have said something like that to my parents, they would have laughed at me. But I said, "You know what, buddy? I am there to support you. I'm going to help you do whatever you need to do to make that dream come true, because I want you to continue to believe in yourself. I don't want your light to dull, because I had a dull light when I was a kid." So all of that to say, that's been my story. This is my story. This is me. And I had a few more swear words that were thrown in there throughout the years, but you get the picture. So share your story with you. Share what happened to you to make you want to do what you're doing. Why does it light you up? It lights me up when I see women owning their voice, because I know that that voice in their head has been dulled. That every time they hear it, they're pushing it down. They're ready to come forward. They're ready to just be brave. And, ooh, that fires me up. So, yes, that's my voice. You can hear it. I did not bring tea, so it's starting to get a little scratchy. But share your voice with me. I want to know about your story. I want to know your truth and why it's helping you do what you're doing and how you can be the best version of you. All right, this is Shay Rubsky, and peace out, babes. Have a good day.